Hello, and welcome to a late uh, release, late premiering episode of the Christian Macalupi Show. It's Monday, so I'm driving home. Actually, it's a lot later. Driving home a lot later than usual, which is why this is coming out late. So it'll be interesting. A little rainy, so I gotta figure some stuff out here. A lot of things are changing in my life, but there is the whole there's things that aren't giving me the free time to maybe have this come out at 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every day. So I think I'll still shoot for that, but the days I don't, the weekdays I don't, because I don't do weekends, I will just put it out as soon as I can in the morning, and yeah, play it by ear. So anyway, today I wanted to talk about how people say, "Oh, it's so hard to be," and they talk about themselves. Something they are like, "Oh, it's hard to be this race," or "It's hard to be this sex." And it occurs to me, what are you comparing that to? You've only been that. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's probably hard to be anybody to a degree. It's just the level of how hard it is. So like it's like when someone's like, "Oh, it's so hard to be," I heard it a lot this weekend. I don't know why. It's just one of those weekends, I guess. But like, women, or not women, just people. Because there's plenty of people who claim they know how hard it is for other people. And then they'll be like, you gotta understand this. It's like, well, how do you understand this? Because someone tells you? Well, how do they understand it? Because someone told them, or they experience it? And like I just, came from, what's their point of reference? What are they comparing it to? So like someone complains about male privilege. Well, I saw a graphic the other day. Homelessness is way higher for men. Workplace deaths is much higher for men. Suicide rate is higher for men. A lot of bad things are higher for men. And then, and that's not saying things are hard for women. That's not saying things aren't hard for women. But I think where I'm going with this is, and I really kind of felt this way before this weekend, is like everyone has it tough. And if someone doesn't have it tough, good on them. Who am I to freaking be on their case about how great they have it, how bad I have it? It kind of goes back to what I was talking about last week on one of those episodes I did of Ultra Accountability, which not only I've heard from Jocko Williams, Gary Vee mentions it, how if you just realize everything is your fault, and again, there are obviously exceptions to that. There's some things you cannot help, but like, in a way, everything is your fault. What you've done has led up to it. You might have had a harder road to travel, but from the start, you might have started in a worse place than someone else, but it's still your road. Like, we'll make a car comparison. Like I need to change some tires on my car. Like 2 in the back. I wanted to wait till like October so the tires were as good as possible come winter. Starting to hit some rainy days. Been a lot rainier, and all we need is take one of these rainy days and put it up against a cold day, and you have icy streets. And this is the car I'm driving now is probably the best car I've ever had. So it handles the best, probably. But like I said, it needs new tires. But if you put, now me compared to old me, who had a car who definitely had issues, like, you gotta drive what you have. So I'm driving this car like I have 2 tires that need changed. I'm cautious, and that might piss other people off, and that's my fault too. Because I should have them, it's my decision making on when I get these new tires. So if I piss people off, well, that's kind of my fault. It's also kind of their fault for when they left. But I mean, this is where we get gray areas. You have things that, if you would have left earlier or later, it would have been fine. Well, there's no way to know that. Usually. But anyway, get back to what I'm saying. So I'm driving, my car like the way to my situation. If you could have a great car and just drive it like crap and wreck it, that's your fault. I could take this car or a car previously, I could have drove it differently. I'm like, oh, this car will handle it. I'm like, no, it won't. And if you wreck it, that's your fault. And of course, like I said, Jocko Williams, Gary Vee are very ultra accountability. There are this and that, but don't look for reasons why it's someone else's fault. Is the point. With those two, me, to a degree, I'm more, don't get on other people's cases about how hard you have it. If you need help, ask for help, or get help one way. Sometimes you can get help without asking for it, if you're clever. So yeah, I'm not saying people don't have it hard, or people don't have it harder than others, because I'm sure they do, but, like, it's funny, somebody told me how hard it was to be them. I'm not going to tell their specific race and sex, but then they go on to describe other things that have nothing to do with their race or sex. Like, that's just your personal unfortunate circumstances. Like, which brings me to another point, and we got just over a minute left, so I'll try to hit it quick. People need to think when they talk. Like, perfect quick example. Stephen A. Smith was getting on, it was white privilege. Steve Nash got a job, or got the coaching job in Brooklyn. But then when he blamed white privilege, he also says he thinks Steve Nash is going to do a good job. That Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving both like him. All these reasons why he got the job, but then he says white privilege. Like, don't give me all these reasons why something happens and then blame something unrelated. It doesn't make sense. Think what you're saying. And then if someone calls him on it, he's like, hey, I'll say what I want. I got this job, blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, that doesn't... Just because you earned the job don't mean you can't say something foolish. Anyway, 10 seconds left in the show. Go ahead and like, subscribe, turn on notifications, all that stuff. I need to get some, ability to take donations or subs and figure out what rewards there are for Sorry. Words are for that. All right. Peace.